Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back with your daily crypto news and analysis. And today we are going to dive on deep into the IMF waters and really kind of connect the dots between Ripple and IMF on how Ripple and XRP are truly a part of this new financial system that is being built by these organizations that pull the strings. So with that being said, I hope that you were all having a beautiful day or a beautiful night wherever you guys are out there in the world. Let's start off actually with this video here from Subjective Views, and we have the IMF is looking for public settlement assets across borders. Can we build a public good for cross-border payments? Now, focus on who the speaker is here. This is Tommaso Mancini-Grifoli. He is the division chief in the Monetary and Capital Markets Department of the IMF. Now, he's very significant, and we're going to be talking about why here in a second. But listen closely to this video.
I think the role of the public sector is not just rules and regulations. In fact, it's also about building public goods, building infrastructure. There is no public settlement assets across borders, and thus the pain points that you all know well in cross-border payments. And the question, I think, a really interesting question now is, can we build a public good for cross-border payments? Can we think about a settlement platform that might escrow central bank reserves in order to transfer them from one bank or participant to another and thus do settlement?
Now, of course, listen, as we hear something like this, it's hard not to compare it to what we've heard about Ripple and XRP for so long, right? Because everything that he is talking about in this video clip, and it's only 40 seconds long, sounds like they are addressing XRP, talking about how XRP is utilized within Ripple payments. Maybe I'm crazy, but it literally sounds like he's describing XRP. You can't afford to not be a part of this Discord. You need to join the free Discord down in the description below, as well as in the comments below right now, to get ahead of the rest of the market with 24/7, 365 access to information around crypto, including insights, trades, altcoin gems, you name it. You need to be a part of this Discord. So what are you waiting for? Click the link down in the description below, as well as in the comments below, to join today. Now, why is Tommaso Mancini-Grifoli a very interesting name? Well, it's because he is one of the authors of the Trust Bridges and Money Flows PDF file that everyone knows about now from the IMF, a digital marketplace to improve cross-border payments. And also focus on Tobias Adrian, which is another significant name. Remember that this is the PDF file that did have XRP named specifically under the glossary. The only other crypto assets mentioned here is USDC, as well as a few other things around a CBDC or DeFi and stuff like that. But XRP is specifically broken down in terms of a crypto asset by Ripple. But we do know within here, we have Stellar being mentioned in terms of Stellar Foundation, as well as Bitcoin. But for the most part, right, XRP is specifically, thought out in this. And it's crazy because it's the only one. Like, XLM's not here, and it's not saying, hey, a crypto asset by Stellar or anything like that. No, it's only XRP under the glossary outside of USDC, which is just a stablecoin. But we have that, this is a private settlement asset and or marketplace such as Ripple's XRP, which I find very interesting. Now, outside of this, right, remember, he is also one of the major speakers on this speech over here. And this is from Exploring Cross-Border Payments and Domestic Payments and Contracting Platforms. And this is from Tobias Adrian as well. And this just really kind of breaks things down in terms of tokenization, cryptography, programmability, are explored around the world as a basis to improve money from banks to central banks. And it's all just talking about the future of cross-border payments here. And you even have here, the work is rooted in a working paper published last November with, and then they do mention Tommaso here. He is one of the key significant players here. But this is the rise of payment and contracting platforms from the IMF. And it's all based around cross-border payments. And it's very hard not to tie it back to, XRP and what Ripple has been doing for so long, because for well over 10 years, they have been planning this. They've been, targeting cross-border payments because they saw the pain points. Now, beyond this, remember Tobias Adrian, right? Back in, I believe it was 2019. I'm pretty sure it's 2019 where they had this meeting. Everyone knows about this meeting because so many images have been shared around this. All the big players there. How Brad Garlinghouse was the only name from crypto that was actually at this private meeting with these central banks and organizations. But we have international payments are expensive and the structure is not very well built. Ripple is an example because it has new technology that increases financial inclusion. Check it out.
And, a large part of the population in the world doesn't have access to bank accounts. And even if it does have access to bank accounts, those are extremely expensive. It's expensive to make payments, wirements, international payments. So I think one of the big motivations for this new technology, right, because Agustin is asking why, is that there's huge financial exclusion, and these technologies have proven to increase financial inclusion enormously. So I think you have to look broadly around the world. I think this is one motivation, and I think the Ripple example is one example, and Norman has talked about that, is that international payments are very expensive, and the structure is not very well built.
Now, as we do really look at this, right, I personally don't see how Ripple and XRP are not tied to the IMF in some sort of way. I know that a lot of people are very quick to say, no way, they're not. There's absolutely zero way that Ripple and XRP are working with the IMF, even though they've had specific meetings. I believe that one of the major players are actually on stage with Brad Garlinghouse, where they were just kind of joking around about how, do we see the IMF holding crypto assets at some point in time? And it's just kind of like Brad Garlinghouse and this guy from the IMF that is a very significant, player there. They're kind of just like bouncing off of each other as if they've known each other forever. And it's just so funny to me that we're so quick to address the fact that like, oh, Ripple's not working with the IMF. There's no way that the IMF would be working with Ripple, even though we know that private and public collaboration is so crucial for this next stage of the financial system. And we've heard about this from the BIS, from the IMF, from the World Economic Forum, from the World Bank, like all of these organizations that have a tie to the financial system. And then also just recently, back in December, IMF head tells public sector to buckle up for transition to digital currency. And this is from Kristalina Georgieva. And it's just so crazy that we're at this point in time where they're basically telling us everything that we need to hear to understand where we're headed, yet so many people are asleep. And it's funny because that's why it's so important not to be asleep at the wheel. Something that I've talked about so many times on this channel. I'm like, 99% of the world is asleep at the wheel at a time where we're starting to see one of the largest transformative, events in history around finance. Like if you're not paying attention to this, you are going to be left behind. But we have, if you're unable to engineer transaction efficiency, basically consumers and investors will use somebody else's money, and then you are out of it. And we cannot do monetary policy anymore in the ways we think about monetary policy. And we even have keep an open mind, embrace opportunities, manage the risk responsibly. Time is not our friend. We have to move fast. So my last word is buckle up. And this is from Kristalina Georgieva, right? This is the head at the IMF telling us about this. And she even referred to crypto assets as the Wild West yet again. And it's mainly just to tell us hey, we do need regulations, but once they're in place, there's no stopping what's about to happen. And again, tokenization was an optimistic viewpoint at this meeting. And outside of that, right, we're starting to now see a big shift happening. We even have the blockchains I just described will need to be cheap, stable, and trusted. They must ensure interoperability between assets and the contracts to trade them. They will require safe money that is also on-chain central bank digital currencies to pay for assets. And guess what? We're now starting to see that happen on the XRP ledger. This is also why I say the XRP ledger being around for 10 plus years, that's a very, very good thing. It means that it can be trusted. It means that, as a central bank or any big player, you're going to be looking at that as a big plus one. And also the fact that Ripple and even the XRP ledger has been, trialed by central banks and big banks and even utilized by big banks is also another big thing. Now, outside of this, we also know that CBDCs. Back in November of 2023, central bank digital currencies can replace cash, offer resilience. This is from the IMF chief. This is Kristalina Georgieva. Yet again, the public sector should continue to prepare for CBDC deployment. That's also why Ripple is working on CBDCs. And it's crazy because, again, at the same exact time, they are telling us everything that is happening behind the scenes, yet so many people are asleep at the wheel. And we already know that the BIS has been planning this for a while. But what's even crazier is this goes back to February 9th, 2022, the future of money gearing up for central bank digital currency, Kristalina Georgieva, 2022. Over here, this is from November 15th. This is where this actually came from. Remember that this is the Singapore FinTech Festival, a case for public sector involvement. Remember the agenda at this, right? Also remember that this is Singapore, where Ripple also got a license from the Monetary Authority of Singapore. Ripple has been working around the Singapore region for a very long time as well. Very interesting, but look at all of the big players at this agenda. There are some very large players, talking about from major banks, even from the MAS, by the way, but also very large companies. There wasn't a lot of blockchain-based companies represented at this, but we do know that Stuart Alderati was there under financial infrastructure for the next decade, which I found very interesting. And the only other players on here with Ripple was SBI. You have Ribbit Capital. You also have Temasek and CoinDesk. So not like any major names outside of just Ripple on this financial infrastructure for the next decade, which I found very interesting. And even if you click this, right, you kind of see a little bit of a breakdown. As the digital age continues to redefine finance, this session delves into the pivotal role of tokenization and digital assets in modernizing financial infrastructure, explore how tokenization can enhance accessibility, efficiency, and inclusivity, and discover when we can expect mainstream adoption in real-world financial use cases. And these were the only speakers there. And of course, Ripple was represented. So very interesting. Now, here are some of the key speakers. Like I said, some very large players. So you have President of the Republic of Singapore, again, President of the Republic of the Philippines, the World Bank, IMF, of course, CFTC, and it just continues on. There's some very large names at these events, and outside of Ripple, like you had Circle there, but where's all of the other big players? Where's Stellar being represented here? Again, it just shows you the levels at which Ripple is operating at. Now, outside of this, I did break down fully this speech that Kristalina Georgieva did address, and this is what she talked about. So the speaker acknowledges that the IMF's involvement in fintech innovation and updates the audience on the progress of central bank digital currencies. They convey 4 main points. Many countries are exploring CBDCs. There's still much potential for innovation. The journey should continue, and CBDC platforms should be designed for cross-border payments. They stress the need for courage and determination in the ongoing journey, noting that the rapid pace of technological change, exemplified by the swift adoption of AI technologies like ChatGPT, the discussion turns to the benefits of CBDCs such as financial inclusion and improved payment systems, and the need for policy decisions and private sector collaboration, there you guys have it again, to ensure successful implementation. They also highlight the potential of AI to enhance CBDCs benefits while stressing the importance of privacy and data security. The speaker announces that the launch of the IMF CBDC handbook to assist policymakers and emphasizes the need for cross-border payment systems to facilitate global financial transactions. They mention ongoing efforts by various organizations, including the BIS Innovation Hub and the Monetary Authority of Singapore, to develop these systems. Again, the BIS just announced that they're working with Ripple with the CPMI group. And of course, the Monetary Authority of Singapore gave Ripple a full-on license. Just kind of shows you, like I said, the levels at which they are operating at. Now, we also have over here from 2018, digitization of money and finance challenges and opportunities. Within this, you also have cryptocurrencies entering into the discussion. This was back in 2018. We know that crypto is a big focus point. And here we have the regulatory response. How should regulators and central banks respond? And we have first, regulators need to complement their focus on entities while with increasing attention to activities. Second, governance needs to be strengthened. Third, policy options could be considered to support open networks, and licensing policies could be adjusted to help foster competition. And then fourth, legal principles need to be modernized. And these are the main points from regulators. Like, we're now starting to see a big shift on regulation. And I do believe that we're now starting to kind of get to that, finish line around regulations. I would argue around probably the next year, maybe 2 years at max, we'll probably start to see regulations ushered in around crypto. And that's when everything changes. But also back in June of 2020, there was a full report by the IMF, and this is from their e-library. This is DLT, Experiments in Payments and Settlements. And they gave us a full breakdown of what's happening, especially in terms of the last decade. It was a wake-up call for the financial sector with many explorations made into the use of DLT for payments and settlements. We know that DLT is the hidden key around unlocking this new financial system. There's no question about it. And we also know that Ripple and XRP, they've always been at the forefront of this. When we look at the connections back to Ripple, it's so significant, especially within the IMF, the BIS, and all of these big organizations. It's crazy to me that people are still overlooking this. But also remember that back in May of last year, Ripple joins IMF to discuss CBDCs for cross-border payments, which is what they are trying to do here in terms of CBDCs. We even have, they want to make sure that CBDC platforms should be designed for cross-border payments. And here you have Ripple joins the IMF to discuss CBDCs for cross-border payments. You seriously can't make this up. And this is at the DMI symposium. It's begun with a discussion on the next steps for cross-border payments by the IMF. And this is with RTGS Global, BOM, and also even Ripple. And we have the panel featured representatives from the International Monetary Authority or Fund, RTGS Global Limited, and a major bank with, of course, Ripple blockchain coming together to emphasize the importance of creating an efficient and an innovative global payment system. And James Wallace, the vice president of Ripple X, highlighted the growing interest of central banks in cross-border payments and the potential of blockchain technology to create a more efficient way of exchanging value. Wallace's words, every single central bank we talk to talks to us about cross-border payments. Very significant, indicating a growing acceptance of blockchain technology as a solution to streamline cross-border transactions. And we even have, discussing how every single central bank that they are talking to wants cross-border payments. Furthermore, he underlined that the ultimate goal of adopting blockchain technology and central bank digital currencies is to create a more efficient way of exchanging value. And down here, we also have, from RTGS, they're highlighting the cross-border payments are the most exciting and innovative use case for CBDCs. She believes that CBDCs could help address the challenges of cross-border payments, such as high transaction fees, lengthy settlement times, and lack of transparency. Notably, blockchain technology facilitates faster and cheaper transactions while maintaining high-level security. Additionally, adopting CBDCs can reduce the reliance on intermediaries and promote financial inclusion, making it easier for individuals and businesses to participate in the global economy. So ultimately, the panelists agreed that cross-border payments are critical to the global financial system, and there's a need for innovation and collaboration to improve them. And of course, Ripple ranked as a leader for CBDCs as well. And we know that, when we go back to just January 6th of this year, we have exploring the advantages and considerations of central bank digital currencies, where they gave us a full breakdown of CBDCs and even stablecoins. We already know that Ripple does have their full-on CBDC platform, and they're fully focused on cross-border payments. And it's just, like I said, as we really look at all of these connections back to the IMF, to the BIS, to these organizations, and we look at even the new financial frontier labeled here on this PDF file or on this article. And by the way, you can download the full PDF file from Ripple. But we have, these are the full breakdowns of the challenges ahead around CBDCs, which they are trying to work on. And this is Ripple, right? This is a blockchain company that everyone's like, oh yeah, they're not working at all with any of these big names. It's like, why are they the ones solving all of these problems? Why are they the ones really kind of addressing these challenges and working on fixing them? Why did Ripple launch their CBDC and stablecoin platform at a time where they were just working with, or I should say, joining the IMF on this discussion around CBDCs for cross-border payments? They announced it pretty much the same exact month. Then, 3 months down the road, they joined the BIS on the CPMI group around CBDCs, around cross-border payments as well. And if we look back to all of the connections here, there is, in my opinion, a clear path ahead, which is the fact that Ripple will be working with the IMF. Ripple will be working with the BIS, because there already are, around these initiatives to position XRP at the center point between central bank digital currencies but also Ripple's already working with all of these major central banks. Ripple's already in discussions with 20 to 30 central banks as well. It's so clear to me. The new financial system will be forged through names like Ripple. And although, yeah, they might not be the only name there, like you'll probably have Quant, you'll probably have Stellar, you'll probably have these other names like Hedera as well. It's clear that Ripple is definitely a prominent name in that list. And I do think that everyone should be aware of this. So with that being said, if you guys enjoyed this video, if you guys would definitely leave a like, subscribe, set notifications on. If you guys have more free content, you guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.